Okay, welcome everybody to another Daily Highlights. I'm here with Dr. Stephanie Taylor. Today is Monday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. And we actually just did a presentation on Friday, and we got a question back from the audience, which we thought we'd make into a topic here. So the question was, how long does it take for the resistive benefits to start when you enter an improved humidity environment? And the question kind of had this background thought of, does passing through a lobby create enough exposure to experience those benefits? So we're talking about the health benefits in your esophagus, or cracked skin and dry eyes and things like that. That's what we're getting at with the question here. So, I mean, overall, we want to really know if this cough will infect someone else, right? So I'm going to pass it over to Stephanie, and she's going to talk about how the information we've been covering is affected by kind of time of exposure.
Great. Good morning, everybody. So I'll have to send Graham back to medical school because I don't think he breathes through his esophagus. He probably breathes through his trachea, but he's hungry right now.
Sorry, yeah.
So it's a good question about how long it takes for the proper humidity to benefit the building occupant or all of us in our homes. So there, you can break the transmission of disease down really into 3 steps. There's a person coughing. There's what happens to those droplets, infectious or not infectious, in the building. And then how does a building impact the secondary hosts or the rest of the occupants? So clearly the first step, the viral load from an infected person, if somebody comes into your office or lobby or home and coughs, and they don't have a mask on, that's an instantaneous release of large and small droplets. If the air is dry, those droplets are going to shrink really, really quickly within less than a second to these tiny droplet nuclei that then can stay in the air, can travel around the room, can go out the door down the hallway and infect other people. If you have 40 to 60% humidity in that space, those droplets fall rapidly to the ground and they land within 1 to 2 meters or 3 to 6 feet. So that effect of humidity is pretty much instantaneous. And then for many viruses and bacteria, when they're in the airborne state, they're actually more infectious. And we're still trying to figure out how much of that infectivity decrease of the actual virus applies to the SARS-CoV-2. But whether or not it's quickly inactivated or not, the particles are still brought out of the airborne environment. And then thirdly, I think what I find especially interesting and less intuitive than the middle column is what happens to our respiratory immune system. What happens to the cells in our nose, esophagus, throat, trachea, bronchial tubes, and how quickly does dry air affect the mucus, affect the cells, affect our immune system? And we know that the mucus becomes dry. It's hard to put, I don't know if that happens within seconds or within minutes. We do know that the cells lining your nose, the back of your throat, your trachea, on down into your lungs, within 15 minutes of being in a dry environment, these cells actually begin to display signs of injury. So the answer is the effects of proper humidification kind of range from instantly when you're actually bringing particles out of the air to a matter of minutes when you're thinking about the health of your respiratory system. And then longer term meaning up to 8 hours later. When you're in a dry environment, you actually lose enough moisture through your skin and through breathing that you cannot keep up with adequately by oral rehydration, so that within 8 hours of being in a 20% relative humidity environment, you are clinically dehydrated. you've lost about 1 to 1.5% of your body weight. And again, it helps to rehydrate orally, but it doesn't keep up with the skin and respiratory losses. So next slide, Graham. So this just gives you a visual of, the person comes into your home, they cough, droplets come out 100 microns in diameter. If they have infectious viruses or bacteria in the droplets, those droplets shrink and can go traveling around your building or home. That happens, the shrinkage happens very quickly, like pretty much instantly. And then the next slide. This just shows that the colored section on the right side of this slide shows your airway, say in the top part of your trachea, just past your throat, where Graham's esophagus separates from his trachea. Food goes down the esophagus, air goes down the trachea. The pink lining, the mucus, that becomes more viscous very rapidly. And I can't say exactly how long very is. The cilia within that mucus cannot function. They can't wave upwards to protect your lungs when that mucus becomes even slightly more viscous. But we do know that the cells, the green and the purple cells, they show signs of injury within 15 minutes of being in a dry room. So hopefully that'll help you understand that with these 3 stages, the first one is instantaneous and we have no control over with the building. The second part, the middle column, is a very rapid sort of cleaning or bringing out of the air of infectious particles. And the third column, the impact of humidification on the occupant, happens within minutes and continues for hours. So I hope you now have a sense that you can't just walk through a lobby and hope that 5 minutes of humidification will take care of you all day.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. And sorry for the little mishap there. But yeah, in conclusion, you can't just, introduce humidification for, let's say, 5 minutes or even just for walking through or something like that. So it's good to know, especially if you're coughing or something along those lines, that's instantaneous to the environment around you, and doesn't really have an effect if you were just in a humidified room, if now you're in a dry room. And the health benefits, clearly, there are some lasting effects with the 15 minutes, but that's pretty short and not exactly helpful if you're going to be in an office building for, let's say, 8 hours a day. So we highly recommend humidifying the entire building to protect your occupants during every stage of the day. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be back on Wednesday. And may the 4th be with you.
That's funny.